Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I want to talk about something today that I think is really important to understand because so many people make this mistake, which is basically this idea that you shouldn't do things that can't benefit you but can only harm you. There's so many ways that people screw this up, and it drives me nuts from all the time because they think they're doing good for the general good, but what they do is they end up creating bad situations for themselves, and they wonder why they have these bad situations. Right? I did this video on how you should do things that have unbounded upsides, right? You should check out that video. This is sort of the opposite of that. So what I'm going to talk about today is this idea of doing things that have unbounded downsides and really don't, and have a very bounded upside or no upside at all. So here's a good example of this, right? One good example is leaving reviews or feedback for people that's negative, right? So I always joke about this, but it's actually kind of serious, right? But if you think about it, like I talk about this on eBay a lot, as people say, well, I get into this argument of should you leave, bad feedback on eBay? And my answer is absolutely no. Do not ever do it. Only leave, in fact, on anything, I only usually leave a 5-star feedback or no stars, nothing at all, no feedback at all. And just a simple reason, like let's say that on eBay, right? What kind of benefit do you get from leaving someone bad feedback, right? There's no benefit to you. You may, quote, help society at large, maybe, assuming that you're not just a dick and you're not just wrong. But for you, leaving a 1-star feedback for someone or complaining about their service, it typically is going to do nothing. I mean, the worst thing that maybe they'll refund you or something, or maybe you'll manipulate the situation in some way, or they'll send you a bonus product. Probably not going to happen, right? If you're at the point of leaving 1-star feedback, you've probably already been screwed over by a seller. Let's say on eBay, let's say they screw you over. So leaving the 1-star feedback is going to make you feel good, but there's really no good that's going to come from that, right? Aside from the societal good, assuming that, again, that your feedback is relevant and actually helps someone. But there's a lot of negative that could come from it, right? They could come back and leave you bad feedback, right, in that transaction. They could file a complaint. They could actually file a lawsuit in the case of like Yelp, businesses on Yelp doing this kind of bullshit. I totally don't agree with it, but they could, right? They could file a lawsuit against you. If it's a really like unstable psycho individual, they could go to your house and kill you. Right? I mean, they could come to your house, and it's happened, right? We've seen people have gotten pissed off of World of Warcraft and gone over and murdered someone, right? So there is a downside. Now, the chance of someone coming to your house and killing you because you left them negative eBay feedback is very low. But it does exist, and maybe they send you a box full with dog crap. I don't know, right? There's bad things that could happen, but there's really no good things. So why do things that have unbounded downsides or have downsides but have no upside? Again, the classic argument for this is for the societal good, because you should warn other people of this. But first of all, your one feedback is probably not going to make a huge difference, and you could be wrong. It could be a one-off. It could be an issue, and it doesn't give you any benefit. Again, I don't mean to say that you should only do things that are exclusively good for you, but everything that you do should have at least some upside for you, have some benefit for you, at the very least not have a downside, right? If it's got a downside and it's got no benefit for you, you shouldn't do it. That's sort of, and I'm sure you can find exceptions to this where you'd say, should I save someone from a burning building or a train wreck, or save a baby from a burning building? Okay, fine. But there is some benefit for you there, which is that you're doing something that is really good, that is good, and it's going to make you feel good at least, whereas leaving negative feedback typically doesn't actually do any good. It doesn't actually make you feel good, even though you think that it does, and it's just not good at all, right? So other examples of this is when someone asks you for your opinion on something and you have to give a negative opinion to give the truth. Again, just skip those situations. So I would just say that in general, right, you should look at every situation, right, and before you take action, before you go and do something, and say, could this possibly harm me, and does this provide any benefit to me, right? And I'm not saying, again, that you shouldn't be charitable, that you shouldn't help people, you shouldn't do nice things. Of course you should. but they shouldn't have very dangerous and unbounded downsides and very little upside to you, right? It's not selfish to think this way. It just helps you to make good decisions, right? If for you, giving to a charity or giving to someone has enough of an upside that it's worth doing, because that the feeling that you get is the upside, and it doesn't have much of a downside. A lot of times, see, those things wouldn't have any downside, right? Except for maybe losing some money, right? But it's not a downside if you made that transaction. Then that's totally fine. It's just the things where there's absolutely no upside for you and there is a potential downside. You should avoid those things because those things will hurt you. Just like the same way that I said, again, in that video on do things with unbounded upsides, it's the opposite of that. The more stuff that you do, the more, you might think that these potential downside things are not going to hurt you, right, that don't have the upside, but the more of them that you do, the more chances that these very low probability events will happen, and you'll hit a massive downside and you didn't get any upside from it, right? If you do a bunch of things that give you upsides and they have massive downsides potential, then it sort of balances out, right? But if you do a bunch of things that have no upside and only have downside, but there's very small chance that something bad could happen, eventually one of those is going to blow up in your face and you're going to regret it. So that's where I'm coming from on that. I'll give you an exception that I've recently done to my kind of not leaving negative feedback rule, which is something like Uber, right? So I actually left a driver on Uber 1 star because they weren't really a safe driver, right? And they did a really bad job, and it could really negatively impact someone and possibly impact their life. This person shouldn't be driving an Uber, so I left a 1 star, right? because again, this makes sense to me. From my perspective, the positive of this, the benefit is that I may be helping someone, preventing someone from actually like losing their life, something of actual real value, not just perceived value. And the downside is extremely low in that case, although there is a downside, right? So this person could figure out I gave them a 1 star and find me and run me over or something like that. So, that's, it's a calculated risk in that case, but I think it's very small. But in general, yeah, too many people, they do things where there is nothing, there's no benefit for them, and there's a lot of possible bad that can happen. So just evaluate. So just think about things before you do them and say, is there some kind of benefit? I strive for win-win situations. I don't want win-lose situations. I don't want lose-win. I want win-win situations, because those are the best situations where both people benefit. And that makes the most sense. So anyway, if you like this video, I have a request for you. It's a win-win situation. If you click the subscribe button, I will give you more videos. How about that? So just click the subscribe button below and you will subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, a thumbs up is always appreciated. And I'll talk to you next time. Take care.